They never did figure out what attacked him. Was it an animal? They don't know. Was it another person? They don't know. They do know it wasn't an accident, and there was no proof of anything to describe on what it might have been. All they know is that he went into the mountains alone, and he came back missing an arm. What happened out there was real. It was violent, and it almost killed him. And this is his story. I don't know him well. That's important to say up front, because if I had, maybe someone would have stopped him from going up there alone. Or maybe not. People who are determined to disappear usually don't tell anyone enough to stop them. I worked with him for about a year, on the same floor, different departments though. He was a quiet guy, always tired, always looked like he was bracing for something. He told me once, during a smoke break, that the city felt like it was chewing him up, spitting him out. That type of thing. A few weeks later, he stopped showing up. At first, everyone assumed he had quit. Then HR said he'd taken some vacation time. Then his ex-girlfriend called the office one day asking if anyone had heard from him. That's when things started to feel wrong. Everything I'm about to tell you comes from police reports, medical records, and a notebook they found in his car. He hated his job. His boss treated him like he was disposable, talked down to him in front of his co-workers, laughed when he tried to push back. At home, things weren't any better. He didn't get along with his family, and when his girlfriend left him, whatever stability he had left, it went with her. In his notebook, he wrote that he felt invisible, like the world had decided he didn't need to be here anymore. So, he left. He packed camping gear into his car and drove out of the city without telling anyone where he was going. No destination, no plan, just the idea that if he went somewhere quiet enough, he might finally hear himself think. The first day in the mountains was calm. He parked near a trailhead, hiked for hours, and set up his tent in a clearing just off the trail. No signs, no marked campsites, but nothing that felt immediately wrong either. That night, he barely slept though. He wrote about noises, branches snapping close to the tent, movement that stopped whenever he held his breath, something brushing against the tent, slow and deliberate like it was feeling for where he was inside. He told himself it was just an animal, the wind maybe just his nerves. That's what people always do when they're alone in the woods, right? The next day, he hiked a bit deeper in. That's when he found the camp. It wasn't ancient or anything. It wasn't historic. But it looked abandoned, but not forgotten. Fire pit full of crushed cans, a tarp half buried in the leaves, empty food wrappers, and boots hanging from a tree by their laces. He didn't stay there that long. In the notebook, he wrote that the place felt used, but not left. He had barely moved on when he heard shouting. An old man came out of the trees, really fast. He had a big bushy beard, a weathered old face. He was holding a rifle, not aimed directly at him, but it wasn't lowered either. The man told him to get the hell off his property. There was no warning, no explanation, just rage. He tried to apologize, said he didn't know anyone owned the land. The man stepped closer and told him that if I saw him again, he wouldn't be talking next time. Wasn't a threat, it was a statement. So he left. He hiked until his legs burned, until the trail disappeared completely. And when the sun started to go down, he set up his tent again. This time, the forest was tighter. No clearing, no view of the sky, just trees pressed in on all sides. Sometime after midnight, something hit the tent. Not brushed it, never bumped it. It hit it. Hard enough to knock him sideways. He woke up tangled in his sleeping bag, disoriented, heart racing. Before he could move, the second impact came, low and heavy, like someone throwing their full weight against the side. The tent collapsed inwards. The fabric tore. Something sharp cut through the nylon and into his arm. He screamed, kicked, tried to crawl, but couldn't find the zipper in the dark. Then as fast as it happened, it stopped. There was no footsteps, no voices, just silence. When the sun finally came up, he was still inside the tent, shaking, bleeding, afraid to move. The tent was shredded on one side. Long, straight tears, not random, and not clawed. His arm was badly cut, deep enough to be very serious, and it was dirty. That's when the notebook entries changed. No more thoughts about life or meaning. It all turned to just survival. He wrapped his arm using a torn shirt and duct tape from his pack. The bleeding slowed, but the pain didn't. He tried to retrace his steps back to the trail. He couldn't find it. Landmarks didn't line up the way he remembered. Ridges led to thicker terrain. Every direction looked the same. Later, search teams confirmed he wasn't walking in circles, but he was moving farther away from the trailhead. He rationed food, collected water where he could, slept in short, restless bursts. By the second day after the attack, his arm had swollen badly. By the third, it was discolored, hot, and leaking through the bandage. After that, he stopped trying to find his way out. He started trying to be found. He moved toward open areas when he could, built small signal fires, blew his emergency whistle until his chest hurt. When he was too weak to move, he stayed where he was and waited. He was found on the 5th day. A hiker spotted smoke where there shouldn't be any and called it in. Rescue reached him, barely conscious, severely dehydrated, and slipping into shock. The helicopter ride saved his life, but he couldn't save his arm. The infection had spread too far. Doctors said the wound wasn't clean. It wasn't consistent with an animal bite either. It was jagged, packed with bacteria, soil, plant matter, things that don't belong inside the human body. They amputated his arm above the elbow. He didn't argue. He signed the paperwork without hesitation. Surviving had already cost him enough. Physically, though, he did recover. He went through rehab, learned how to live one-handed, found a quieter job, and moved out of the city. Started over in ways people could see. What he never talked about was the attack, not because he didn't remember, because he remembered it too clearly. He told one detective that whatever hit the tent knew exactly where he was laying. That it didn't panic, it didn't thrash, it struck with purpose and then it left. No animal tracks were ever found, no weapon was identified. The landowner denied everything. No evidence tied him to the incident. The case was officially closed as unknown wildlife encounter. Years later, he admitted something he'd never said before. He said the scariest part about what happened in the tent, it was that whatever attacked him could have killed him, and it didn't. And that means it made a choice. Stories like this don't need monsters. They don't need ghosts or dramatic endings. Because what makes them terrifying is they actually happened to real people in real places. This channel is about real stories told with a real voice. No exaggeration, no cheap scares, just the kind of horror that stays with you because it actually happened. If that's the kind of story you're here for, then subscribe. We have real stories every week. Thanks for listening. We truly appreciate it.